budgetary reform, stimulating the economy without engendering inflation, industrial policy, and many more. This morning we are looking at President Tinubu's economic vision for Nigeria. My guest is already here. We'll take a break now. When we'll come back with ground running, please to stay with us. This morning we're taking a look at President Tinubu's economic vision for Nigeria, and I have with me in the studio, to do justice to it, I have Mr. Bankole Olaoluwa, an economist and also a legal practitioner. It's a pleasure to have you on the show today.
Thank you for having me.
Just on Monday, President Tinubu actually gave in his inaugural speech what the Nigerians should expect in terms of economic reform for Nigeria. He also listed so many other things there. But the top most of it, and what's also affecting Nigerians at the moment, is this the removal of a subsidy. What's the reaction to this?
Okay, thank you very much. I think it is expectation. I listened to the speech very well, and I've gone through them, and I think most of those issues there, they are things that Nigeria expected. And as far the issue of a subsidy removal, which he also talked about, I think it's not strange. It should not be strange to us because it was an election issue, it was a campaign issue during the election. And if you recall that all the leading presidential candidates, they actually promised to remove a subsidy if they eventually emerge a winner. And so it will have been bad if the president Tinubu did not talk about subsidy removal on that day. I think the point we are in now in this country, we can't afford any ambiguity, especially from our leader. Our leader has to be very clear about what they want to do. However, in doing that, they also have to look at how they can cushion the effect. And what I would like to tell an average Nigeria, all Nigeria generally, is that the new president could not have deliberately go out of his way to inflict pain or hardship on Nigeria. I believe that as at the point he was president-elect, he must have received a lot of briefing as far as the economy, security, everything concerning Nigeria. And so with that, there are facts that are within his possession, which ordinarily may not be available to Nigeria. But generally, I believe, even before now, there is a elite consensus that subsidy should go.
Well, what I agree with you, some people are also of the opinion that Mr. President should have also mentioned that in his inaugural speech.
Well, you see, if there are things that we ought to have done, maybe 10 years ago, 5 years ago, and we didn't do it, I think the best time to do it will be now. I wouldn't blame the president for actually mentioning it that day. You recall that for the past 3 administrations, effort that they have made effort. The fact that we are still talking about subsidy removal now does not mean that those previous administrations did not make effort to remove it. But I will have to acknowledge the fact that subsidy in Nigeria has become a hot potato. It is not something that the faint-hearted can do. So we are in a point in this country that we need a leader that is decisive and that can take action as far as it's going to benefit Nigeria. Like I said earlier on, an average Nigerian should know that the president will not have deliberately. I know that why we have all these cries that everybody is affected. Even for me to get to the studio this morning, I mean, I know the implication.
Because I had wanted to ask you that even markets also are also reacting to the inaugural speech of Mr. President. If you see now, you see that long queues have also resurfaced in most filling stations. Also, when you take a look at the stock market, it's also in the green as at last night. Would you say it's also reacting to the speech?
Yes, what happens is what we call an announcement effect. When those in authority, when they make pronouncement, the economy will respond to such a statement. Now, the president having said that he's going to remove subsidy, you expect the market to respond positively, because the present arrangement that the arrangement whereby we are running subsidy, this cause a lot of distortion in the economy. Now, we are aware that it has been said over and over that that government even pays subsidy on petroleum or that is taken to neighboring countries. You get it now? We have even had information in the past that some of these tankers on the sea that they will not even bat, they also collect subsidy. So it has distorted our economy. And so if somebody is now coming that, okay, you want to look at it, so it is expected that market will respond positively towards that in a way. Now, talking about the pain that an average Nigerian is going through now, I believe that if you look at the appropriation, 2023 appropriation, it actually provided for subsidy to last till the end of June, meaning that we still have a clear 1 month to get this thing off our neck if actually we want to remove it. So I believe that what we are seeing now is attitude of a Shylock marketers, because it's not as if they are just bringing the product. This product that they are now selling at an exorbitant price, I'm sure that it's already in stock. They have it in stock. Of course, they are now reacting to what Mr. President has said. I believe that in the day ahead, the president will still communicate with Nigeria. I'm also aware that as of yesterday, the president met with the group managing director of NNPC and even the central bank governor. So these are the major driver of the economy. So I believe that in the day ahead, we will know, because the federal government has to give us a clear timeline, a clear framework on how we can, remove this subsidy off our neck. But I know for sure that the budget for this year, the Appropriation Act for 2023, actually provided for subsidy payment up to the end of June.
It was also emphasized that there could also be a kind of a crisis like this, as also witnessing as at this morning, that we might also need to face this long queue in our filling stations vis-a-vis the issue of pump price. Here in Akure, we have areas where they sell for 450, 500 naira per liter. Do you think within this time framework of 1 month, this could be addressed?
I wouldn't predict that it could be addressed, but at least we can have a better situation than what we currently have. I know that yes, the president, the federal government will still have to come out with a categorical statement. The president-elect is only re-emphasizing, because if you look at the Petroleum Industry Act of 2021, it has actually privatized NNPC. The NNPC is now expected to run as a business, not as a government entity. Yes, we know that the federal government has equity share in that organization. However, because of the nature of the issue of subsidy, it has been difficult for the previous administration to actually remove it. But the emphasis is that at the end of June, it will be go, because there was no provision for it. And I think as of today, there is a sort of elite consensus on the fact that the subsidy has to go because of the endemic corruption that is embedded in it. However, what we are here to agree upon is that the time frame and how do we cushion the effect upon those people that it's going to affect negatively. Like I said, government has to look at the issue of transportation. For instance, if I want to travel to Ikare now, I don't need to take my car to the place. If the public transportation is running very well, if I want to come from Alagbaka to this place, I don't have to come with my car. I can just take public transportation. So I believe government has to look into all of these things. Then, and like I said, as of today, whether they tell us or not, we know that the federal government is somehow broke. And why do I say that? You know, a lot of money is going into subsidy payment, and they have told us that 90% of the revenue of federal government is now being used to service debt. Talking about debt servicing and revenue ratio, that almost 90 out of 100 naira that federal government made as a revenue, 90 naira is used to pay service debt. So you know we cannot continue like this. And the new government that we are talking about actually need funds to also resolve the issue of infrastructure deficit that we have in our economy. All of these things, government actually need revenue to do that. And if you look at it, the issue of borrowing is no longer a luxury that even the country can afford now, because people have talked so much about the debt, that the borrowing that the past government did. So I think what government is trying to do is to look at, if we are able to remove this subsidy, a lot of money will come in. I think what government has to do is to make sure that those money, when they come in, that they are used for the benefit of average Nigerians.
Also, we also have other markets that's also responding to the presidential speech. That is also in the stock market. As at last night, the market ended in green. Also, the foreign exchange, also at the black market, also responded positively. What's your take on this?
I think the economy is only responding to the speech of the government, president. Don't forget that economic. There are certain things. The economy fundamental is such that the free market, if you can call it that, if you look at what the government has said, the president has said that he wants to all the inhibition against investment. That okay, if you are a foreigner, you have brought your funds to invest in Nigeria, that you will be guaranteed the opportunity to reparate whatever profit that you have made. That all those inhibitions, all those laws or inhibition that is against investment, that he is going to look into it, he is going to remove them. And so when you hear that, it is expected that people from other country, investors from another country will bring their money here. And once that type of sign is in the public, so the economy fundamental will respond to that. And that is what has happened in the stock exchange.
Let's take a look at other issues. Also in that speech, has also promised to have 1 million jobs to be created in the digital economy. And also we also have this one, electricity power generation to double and improve significantly. Why state government to participate in power generation and also distribution?
Yes, let me first of all come from the angle of power generation. We've talked so much about this in the past. It has always been my view that if we are able to resolve the challenge that we have in power generation, that we will be able to double our GDP, gross domestic product, as a country. And that is what the president has said. And it's very good that this is happening at this time. If you remember the constitutional amendment that was done recently, before now, the issue of power generation is under the federal government. The subnational government has problem. There is a lot of what we can call intolerable handicap for the state to go into that sector. And so with the amendment of the constitution about 2 months ago, which the president has actually accepted to, and with that, the subnational state now have opportunity to go into energy, to generation of electricity and also distribution. But hitherto, it is the state are forbidden by our law to do that. Now that opportunity has now been given to state to also go into those areas, state now, subnational can now partner with private investor to light up their state. So with that, I believe that, like we said, if we're able to tackle the problem of energy, we can double our GDP.
I wanted to ask you that.
We also talk about the ICT that generation.
No, let's talk about this part, because it's also my concern that most states might not have the financial muscle to actually generate electricity and also distribute it.
Okay, yes, talking about not having the financial wherewithal to do that. There are certain things that government can do. We have what is known as PPP, public-private partnership. So government, even at the state level, has a role to play. They can also provide an enabling environment for private sector to come in. And so it's not just necessarily that government is now coming to bring a humongous amount of money to do that. Government, even at the level of the state, can provide the enabling environment for those investors to bring their funds. So once that enabling environment is provided, it will work. So government can decide to partner with the private sector in the area of electricity generation and distribution. Government in that area can also talk about provision of lands and all of those things for them to be able to do the thing. So the private investor can bring their money, but the state will just provide the required enabling environment. Don't forget that even here in Ondo State, before the amendment of the law, our governor, SCN, was already looking at how he can some leverage, whether he can get some mileage, even from the existing law then, so that we can have the opportunity of doing something on energy. And that was how we are here in Ondo State. We have Electricity General Regulation Agency, under which the state government put in place. In fact, that agency was already in place even before the amendment of this constitution. So the state government, I believe, can do a lot.
Okay, I also know that we have a motor shop power plant too. Yes. That can also work magic here in Ondo State.
That is it. So it was because of it is even strange sometimes when I look at it. It was even strange how we allow the federal government to maintain their stronghold on the power generation up to this present time. Because I also remember during the time of Awolowo in the Western region, there was a time that the regions were also given the liberty to even go into this electricity of a thing. So it's very strange to me how we were able to allow the federal government to have a stronghold on power generation. But I think the federal government has also come to the conclusion that it's not going to work. And now that the power has been devolved to state, I believe state can do a lot.
Oh, okay, Mr. President was also specific about how to generate 1 million jobs. He's talking about the digital economy. Do you think this is also doable?
Of course, very, very doable. If you recall, for last year, why we were even able to exit the recession was because of the contribution of the ICT sector, you know, and I believe there is still a lot of opportunity in that sector that we can also leverage upon. If you remember recently, the former president actually signed an act which is known as the Startup Act, which is essentially for youth, in those people that are starting small business, especially in the area of ICT, which is meant to encourage them. So I believe that there is still a lot of opportunity that we can also leverage in the ICT sector. I think the president is spot on. We can at least generate a lot of job opportunity from that sector. You know, we have not. It has not. It's just it's an emerging sectors that with a little effort, government will be able to generate that employment. I think it is doable, and we should encourage it.
Even during COVID-19 too, it's also a sector that was also generating money for Nigeria. When other sectors were
actually, you are working from home, you don't go out, and you are still contributing. And why do we go into recession? Because of, you know, you cannot go to work, everybody stay at home, and you can't travel. And because of that, that means that the economy was shut down. But the little effort of the contribution from the ICT, which that you stayed at home, you can do your Zoom meeting, you can do everything. Partially, you can even trade on through using the ICT. So I think the opportunity in that sector is massive, and I believe that it's an area that we can look for employment for our youth.
Okay, some people have also said that maybe Mr. President is still campaigning even at this time with that 1 million job to be created.
It's very good, because now he has said something. When if somebody during the campaign, okay, we are going to provide employment opportunity for our youth, how much, by how many? So, you know, we have to quantify it. We have to make it very smart. Now he has told us that it is going to ensure that we generate 1 million employment from ICT sector. Now, in another 6 months, we can say, Mr. President, this is the number you have given to us. How far have we gone with it? So it is measurable and it is specific. So it's not that it's campaigning, but it's now giving us an idea, so that maybe in another 6 months, in 1 year time, we can now say, in the ICT sector, you said you are going to generate 1 million employment. How far are we? So I think it's very much in order.
Because of our time, because we still have a lot of issues that Mr. President actually raised in that inaugural speech, let's take a look at the budget reform. We also have this industrial reform, and the most interesting to me will also be the issue of interest rate, that is also planning to look at that. When you take a look at interest rates, the least you can get in the commercial bank will be around 22%.
Yes. And so in such an economy, you know, we cannot go into real production with the level, with what we have in interest rate. It's very difficult. You cannot take such money and say you want to go into agriculture. You cannot take such loan at 22 digits and say you want to go into manufacturing. So it's very rich, and I believe that government has to do something about that, because when you take a loan with interest of over 20%, what will be the profit margin? So, you know, and so many other things. So I believe with that, and that is why our commercial bank now, they are not in a position to help us to grow the economy, because there is no way. If you now go to borrow money in the bank at the rate of over 20% interest rate, what magic will you make for you to be able to make something out of it? And that is why most of the time, those that even take the pain to take the loan, you see the bank running after them after some time. So I believe that if we work on our interest rates, if we can have interest rate of a single digit. Exactly.
I wanted to ask, because I know quite well that a lot of government have also come to talk about how to reduce this interest rate to single digit, and as we speak, nobody has been able to achieve that. How do you think this present government can achieve that?
You see, the thing with the economy is that most of the time, you don't just give it order. You don't say economy do this thing and it will be. You know, there are fundamental things. If there are, you know, the structure of our economy, we have an economy that is rent seeking, where people would not even want to go into business. I mean, into manufacturing or production. It's a rent seeking. People want to, if I can take ₦1 million from you now, and I can just trade with something within the next few days and make profit. So where is the incentive for me to say that I want to go and build industry? Where is the incentive for me to say that I want to go into agriculture? Whereby when I plant my product, it has to take about 3 months for me to start getting revenue from it. So these are the problems. So I think fundamentally the structure of economy is something very, very is shaky, and with that sort of a situation, it becomes very, very difficult for the banking sector to help us to grow our economy. And the reason is simple. You know that even before now, if not for the consolidation of the commercial bank during the Soludo time as a governor of central bank, it is very difficult. They don't have enough money.
The recapitalization, acquisition, and of that.
That they can be given out to the people. So those are some of the challenges that we are having. And I think the new administration has to actually look into that, so that whatever we can do to ensure that we are able to reduce this interest rate, because with the present rate, it is very difficult for
nobody can approach commercial bank for any
commercial bank and say you want to use it to do manufacturing or you want to use it for agriculture. So it's just for rent seeking, and that is also the challenge we are having in the foreign exchange market. You know, the president said that he wants to unify it. That on its own is also problematic. For instance, the current situation now is almost distorting our economy. If I know somebody in the central bank now, if I go to him, if I can get $1 at the rate of 450 naira, just merely as soon as I leave the central bank, I can sell it and make about 250 naira on $1. So in such an economy, what is the setting? Why do I need to take that dollar that I've given or forex that I've given? Why do I need to travel America or to travel to anywhere to go and bring any product? So those are the situations.
So do you think that unification will also address this issue that you have raised?
You know, the problem is that there are so much that government has to do. For instance, even if you say that you want to unify the exchange rate, the situation may be such that the value of naira will go down. For instance, if it is say 600, 650 naira today, if you now say that you want to unify it, it could go as much as 1,000 naira to $1. So that's a problem on its own. So the thing that will help our naira, that will strengthen our naira, is that if we are producing, if we are exporting, for instance, we are earning dollar. This today now, many Nigerians, you have something you want to buy abroad. Do you now juxtapose that to the fact that we are not exporting anything? We have been told that sometimes those ships that brought goods to Nigeria, when they want to go, they will pile sand so that they can stabilize on the high sea. So instead of them to be able to actually take in something back to their country. So these are something. So fundamentally, the structure of economy has to be looked into such that we can have an economy that is vibrant. And one of those things is to actually remove distortion. Because when government is just saying, we are doing this, like subsidy thing and all the rest, so it causes a lot of distortion in the economy. But that is not to say that at every point in time, the government has to stand by and ensure that at least those child local marketers that they are there with.
You also talked about this new naira currency policy by President Muhammadu Buhari that will also be looked into. But let's take a look at this industrial policy. He also talked about industrial policy and budget reform. How do you think budget could be reformed to ensure that we have a stable economy?
Okay, we can reform our budget in several ways. For instance, there is what we call zero-based budgeting. There is also what is known as incremental budgeting. For instance, if you see some government department, they will say our budget in 2022 is 10 million. So in 2023, that 10 million has to go to 12 million, meaning that incremental budgeting. Without actually looking at, is there a need for that increment? But you know, most of the time they will say that since our budget for last year is 10 million, we have to increase it to 12 million. That's what we call incremental budgeting. Some will talk about zero-based budgeting. That what do you want to do this year? That's zero-based budgeting. Let us start from there. So those are some of those things that we are talking about. Then we also need to look at the structure of our budget. What is the percentage that is going for recurrent? What is the percentage that is going to capital? We know that those that goes into capital, those are the ones that actually benefit the general masses in terms of road infrastructure, in terms of health facility infrastructure, in terms of education infrastructure. So we have to look at it. We have to have a correct mix such that it's not as if the current is so much than the capital. Those are some of those things that we also need to look at. Then I've also been saying this over time, that we have to look at the role of the CBN, Central Bank of Nigeria, and that is the monetary authority and the fiscal authority. The agency like Federal Ministry of Finance, Federal Ministry of Economic Planning and Budget, Ministry of Trade and Commerce, those are the fiscal policy. But in the recent past, you now see a situation whereby the CBN will also be, alongside its monetary duty, we also want to be performing some fiscal duty. For instance, if you look at the issue of anchor borrower, whereby the CBN is giving money to farmers to do all of this, those should be within the remit of fiscal policy.
So what they are doing is also overlapping.
Yeah, so they are doing, so they will now, so what we are saying is that it is important for the CBN to concentrate on its monetary policy, monetary duty, so that in terms of inflation, in terms of interest rate, so the CBN will have to face that one squarely rather than doing monetary policy and going to fiscal policy. Then even when we are doing that, we must also have a correct mix or proper mix, that is a blend between the monetary authority policy and fiscal policy, so that there is no contradiction.
I know you have a lot to talk about when you get there, because I also know about the budget financing, not able to access a budget to actually go through the projects that one ministries or department also has to do. I know that the president also talked so much about so many things, talking about infrastructure, that's going to continue with the infrastructure development of President Muhammadu Buhari and all of that. We might not have enough time to talk